Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Okay, this is another one in the series of looking at the stock market book. It's from a few decades ago, where they would go through and publish these big, expensive books to send out to ad agencies and graphic firms to see if they could sell images for very substantial money compared to what you get now. And I'm kind of going through this for myself, doing the video with it also for YouTube. I'm trying to think of what's going to be selling. If I go out and photograph now, or I'm photographing another assignment, and I have a chance to take some images, what might work for microstock, what categories might work, and try to keep that in mind so I don't overlook things when I'm out. And I've found now I've done this a couple of times. So I'm kind of on to the next two chapters or categories out of this book, and the next two are animals, and they've got 6 pages dedicated to that, and the other one is agriculture, which is kind of interesting because something like Shutterstock doesn't have a category for agriculture anymore. And it's interesting because it seems rather important that we have agriculture and grow our food, but it's no longer a category with them. So obviously not significant enough for them to worry about as a marketplace. Now this may be a misdirection, but anyways, we'll go down what they had. The animal part, I've got a general statement. We love them, we hate them, we eat them, we admire them, we are amazed by them, they are part of us. First observation I had is out of this whole group, there are only 2 cat photos. So really, cats, having thousands and thousands of photos of cats on the Shutterstock stuff now, really wasn't that big a deal back then. So somehow we have become, the whole cat thing has kind of gone into a mania. So in looking at what they have here, they've got pets, they've got farm animals, and they've got wildlife. So that's falling into their animal section. Especially think of pets, they're being cute, being playful, they're being with us, they're dressing them up, put them in cute situations, interaction with us or with others. So kind of seeing that in there. With the animals, we're seeing them in action. They may be running or jumping or flying. They are confrontation, so you might see them fighting. Got some shots of that, like grizzly bears right there, getting ready to fight. Families, got ostriches with little chicks following them. And symbolism, you gotta think of all the symbolism we get out of a majestic lion or a golden or an eagle. So those symbolic looks. In this case, we've got a world competition for sure on this because different animals happen all over the world. And I had an interesting experience in that around here, goats aren't that plentiful. So I had a friend who has a bunch of goats, and I thought, well, I'll go through and take my hand at photographing goats. So I went through and did some shots and found out the chaos and stuff of trying to deal with goats trying to come and get some apples from you. But then I went through and then I started digging into how many photographs of goats are on Shutterstock. And you find out that there are thousands and thousands of goat photographs. And you come to realize that this is an international marketplace that you're dealing with. So here we do a lot of cat photos. Well, the rest of the world has a lot of goats. And it started finding that there are a lot of goat photos from all around the world. And the family goat seems to be, and family goat herd is out there. And so it's kind of interesting to go through and look at the idea of trying not to be so enculturated that we only see what we've got locally, but to realize when you get into stock images, you're starting to deal with an entire global market, and what might be scarce here may well be in great abundance elsewhere. Also with this, you quickly see that it continues to be back then as it is now. Wildlife photography is a specialty, and people who really go out there and do a good job with that, they've got the temperament, they've got the skill for doing that. They can understand where to set up at. They can spend long times waiting at a blind or something for something to happen. I know I don't have the temperament for that. I'm going and doing things. To sit around like that isn't my style. So I'll never be in with the wildlife stuff. And even opportunities that come along, I'm not used to it. I was just up hiking up in Rainier and had a silver fox just all of a sudden come up and walk right down the trail to me. And I'm trying to muck with my camera, which was all set up for doing more journalism or landscape photographs. And wasn't set up for doing quick shots. So really, it's perfectly fine stuff for a blog, but didn't get anything that was really marketable with it. So I just realized I'm not really set up for that. Other people, they love this. That's what they're going to do. And if you're shooting that way or shooting for this, you can be in that kind of competition when you're doing wildlife photographs. Okay, now with agriculture, we have to, again, it's back, we have to feed our spacesuit. There's a lot of them to feed. And so the agriculture is a very key component of our culture, our society, and of life. It is near to us, it's far away, where we get our food sources from. So what I started seeing on this, back at that era, they were still looking at the ideal family farm. And that notion of the family homestead going on. And I think that's passed by more now. I think that's more of a nostalgic look, because big ag has pretty well taken over most of our food supply, or a great deal of it. And international, like we get a lot of our stuff out of Mexico now. In our big, around here, we have great big huge farms over the eastern side of Oregon and Washington that do massive irrigation operations to grow big farms, big wheat over there. Some of the stuff, old barns seem to still have a charm. They had a charm back at this time. I think that's still going to go on in a lot of photographs of old farms. They did a lot with the farm family, and I think that's still a romantic notion and era that may still live on in certain contexts. They had all kind of crops, so this is not just the food crops, but also seeing a lot of wine growing. We've got a lot of vineyards around here. We've got a lot of hops fields. Tulips. We have a big tulip festival that happens. Christmas tree farms. We've got Christmas tree farms all over around here. So there's a lot of different areas of agriculture besides just food production that could well need photos, and probably do need photos for different purposes. So things to keep in mind. they also had the working farm hands and family. So actually in the field doing something, driving the tractor, digging up something. Had photographs of that. This is also where they were also more heavily into the farm animals in this section. So you got all your different, varieties of cows and things going on. We've got things where they set up on the eastern side for still doing cattle drives. Different things can be romantic, or it can actually be a functional type of thing. A lot with harvest time, harvesting. A lot with planting times going on. So sowing the crops. Again, not a category that's isolated today. Back then, this was an isolated category that they had people really working for it and shooting on that, and a good variety of things. Today, you might see more things which they didn't have. Everything was very idealistic, very colorful. Today, you might see more crop disasters, weather conditions, drought, climate change, how it's affecting crops could be good. We also have here locally, we got more of the idea of know your local farmer. We're doing more from farm to table, and that goes back to the family farm in a different fashion than was portrayed at this era. And so that could be a growing marketplace for visual images needed for that. And then that it is a global operation. So we have access and think about maybe our American farms, but realizing now that it's stretching all over the world, or has always stretched all over the world. But because we're getting to be more of a global economy, how it's done in the Far East or in China may play in more, and you may be competing with that type of image these days. So those are my observations. I got to keep that in mind when I'm out shooting, because we do have different agriculture things around here. Ties in with forestry and other things that happen, and got to do more study about who the new end users are today, who might actually use images like that. So there's a couple more categories for all of us to keep in mind. Hopefully you found that interesting. Thank you for watching.